Shalom. Shalom to the Lord's elect. Giving all praise, honor, and glory. I tell Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Machakorash. Double honor to the apostle, the elders, the great millstone, still rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, and safety to the Lord's elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the planet Earth. And as you can hear, there's a storm out here in the midst. And I was just admiring, the power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Think about how the Lord made it rain for 40 days and 40 nights. That's unbelievable, man. The Lord weaponized rain, and he drowned the entire planet Earth. And this is why the scriptures say that the Lord is greatly to be feared, man. Greatly to be feared. You hear the thunder, which the scriptures speak about the thunder. When the Lord thunders, that's the Lord speaking. That's how the Lord speaks. Through thunder, through lightning. Like that makes you tremble, man. When you feel that vibration, when you hear the voice of the Lord speaking through the thunder, it sends a tingling down your spine. Let me get this precept. Get this precept. Bear with me. Lord willing, brothers and sisters can hear me. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 6. Thou shalt be visited of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai of hosts, with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. And that's how the Lord, among various other ways, one of the ways that the Lord visits the earth, all right, and speaks on the earth is through thunders, earthquakes, great noises, storms, and the final way that the Lord is going to visit the planet Earth before the kingdom of heaven is that flame of devouring fire. This is 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 17. It says, "It's not wheat harvest today. I will call unto Yahweh, and he shall send thunder and rain, and ye may perceive and see that your wickedness is great, which ye have done in the sight of Yahweh, in asking you a king." So this is dealing with when Israel, we envied the other nations, the other trees in the garden, and we desired to have a king of our own. And the people wanted a king. So, I believe this is Samuel. Yeah, verse 18 says, "So Samuel called unto Yahweh, and Yahweh sent thunder and rain that day, and the people greatly feared the Lord Yahweh and Samuel." Because that thunder will make you fear. When you read Exodus, the 20th chapter, when Moses went up to the mount to get the commandments, and the presence of the Lord was there, and Yahweh Ba'ashim Shai came down. There was a fire. Let me get that real quick. And it's 11:44. Call live. Let me go there real quick. Exodus 20 real quick. Exodus 20. verse 20. It says, and Moses said unto the people, fear not, for the Most High, Elohim, is come to prove you, that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where Elohim was. And the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua said unto Moses, thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. Is this it? Hold on, bear with me. Okay, Salaki. I went too far. Exodus 20:18. It says, all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking, and the people saw it, and they removed and stood afar off. So when they saw the chariot, the fathership there, thunder, the lightnings, you know, that great darkness, that fire engulfing in itself, the lightning, the thunder, that presence of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai and the angels, they feared and they removed themselves. They stood afar off. You know, because if you ever saw a lightning strike, that's great power, man. You got people that die, that perish that way. You were striking with lightning. You know, there's speculation that lightning is what destroyed the Georgia Guidestones. So verse 19 says, and they said unto Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. So when they saw all those great wonders of Yahweh Shai, they no longer wanted to speak to the Lord. They wanted to talk to the mediator, which was Moses at that time. Okay, shows you the pride of our people. They always, you know, speaking on shit that they not really about, not really ready for, biting off more than they can chew, so to speak. So when the Lord actually came down and spoke to them through thunder, through lightning, all right, through with His voice, which, like I said, brings a tingling down your spine, they didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to hear that. They like, well, we're listening to you, Moses, but this, you know, hey, tell you how about Shmuel Shada, you know, we don't want to talk to him no more. We will talk to his men. Job 26:14, lo, these are parts of his ways, but how little a portion is heard of him. But the thunder of his power, who can understand, right? Because the thunder is the Lord actually speaking. Elder Apostle Gabar gave a testimony about when he was growing up in the islands of St. Lucia. And, you know, there was a saying when there was a thunderstorm or a great storm, they would say, turn off the radio, turn off the TV, because Yahweh, Bahashim Shai is speaking, God is speaking. That's what they would say. The Elder Apostle Gabar said that's what they would say in the islands when he was growing up, to turn off the TV and turn off the radio because God is speaking. And that's how Shalom, Yahweh Shabbat. That's how Yahweh Shah speaks, man. It says, let me go here, Job chapter 40, verse 9. Hast thou an arm like the Most High? Or canst thou thunder with a voice like him? So the Lord's voice is the thunder. You know, it says in verse Psalm 77:18, the voice of thy thunder was in the heaven, and lightnings lightened the world. The earth trembled and shook. So this is 2 Samuel 22:14. Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua thundered from heaven, and the Most High uttered his voice. You know, because that's the voice of the Lord, man. Whether angry, whether he's giving a voice of approval, the Lord will speak through various different things. In this lesson, just touching on, that thunder. Cause like I said, man, I always liked thunder. I always thought it was cool. Then when I came into the truth, realized the significance of it. Matter of fact, we're gonna go to St. John 12 because when Yahweh Shai transfigured, all right, leave this to transfiguration. Let me just read it. St. John 12 and 28, start 27. It says, "Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. But for this cause came I unto this hour," right? Because Yahweh came into the world to sacrifice himself, to lay down his own life, all right, for the nation of Israel. Specifically in these times, the elect of the nation of Israel. That's his whole purpose of coming on the planet Earth, to redeem the Israelites, all right, back to Yahweh after they were casted off for their disobedience, for the breaking of the first covenant. Now verse 28 says, "Father, glorify thy name." Then came there a voice from heaven saying, "I have both glorified it and will glorify it again." That voice from heaven was from a chariot, all right, from Yahweh. Okay, so if Jesus, or if Yahweh Shai is God per se, or the Most High, then how can he talk to himself from heaven? Why is he constantly speaking to his Father? Father, do this. Father, do that. Father, why is thou forsaken me? I must do the will of my Father that sent me. Because they're two separate entities. They're not the same entity. Okay? The Lord ain't schizophrenic. The Lord's not talking to himself. He's talking to his Father. So he said, "Father, glorify thy name." And then came there a voice from heaven, keep that in mind, a voice from heaven saying, "I have both glorified it and will glorify it again." Verse 29 is the point. The people, therefore, that stood by heard it. The people, therefore, that stood by and heard it said that it thundered. Others said an angel spoke to him. You see? So there were people that was there saying, well, he must have seen an angel. An angel must have been speaking to him. But the people that was there, they heard thunder. They didn't hear the actual voice of Yahweh. That's because when you go to, let's go here to the spirit feeding precepts now. This is St. John 5 and 37. It says, "And the Father himself, which hath sent me, hath borne witness of me. Ye have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his shape." You see, so we've never heard the voice of Yahweh. The way that we hear his voice is through the thunder. But we don't actually know what the Lord, his tone sounds like. We don't know what his voice actually sounds like. We can't familiarize ourselves with his speaking because we just hear thunder. There's another one, I think it was with the Apostle Paul. Bear with me. Let's up with this lady. I don't have no Uber Eats, the lady walking in the rain and shit. How you doing? You looking for a house? Okay, this 3410. Maybe probably a little further down, maybe. Yeah, my light just went out. So hey, that's the power of the Lord, man. That's the great power of how about no shot. My porch light just went out. This is Revelation 14 and 2. "And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps." So when the Lord speaks, we're not gonna hear the Lord's voice. We're gonna hear thunder, like the people heard when Yahweh Shah said, "Father, glorify thy name." He said, "I have both glorified him and I will glorify it again." But the people that stood by said they heard thundering. And there's another one with the Apostle Paul. So Salakia, let me check. I'm still trying to find it. I'm might not be. Maybe I'm confusing the stories. Well, it tells you, I don't have the apocrypha here, but it tells you in the apocrypha that the Lord, when he spoke his voice. Let me get that. I think I got 16:11 on here. Let's go to Sirach chapter 15. That's why the Habashah said, "Fear ye not me." All right, Sirach. Second Ezra, not Sirach. Second Ezra 15. I believe 15. Second Ezra 13, verse 3 says, "And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. When he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that was seen under him." The him is referring to Yahweh Shah. This is upon his return in the midst of World War III. The Lord's going to return in the midst of these nations waging war against each other, and the nations are going to stop the battle against each other, and they're going to direct their attention into fighting the only begotten Son of the Most High that's going to come back with the so-called UFOs, which are the chariots of the Lord. So verse 4 says, "And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice." Because if you get struck by lightning, that's a type of a burning, you know. Oh, the water, the water, y'all rushing that shot. Let me go to that because the brother posted. That's the scripture I was trying to find. Acts 22. Let's see how you work this out. Acts 22. And come on now. Acts 22. We're gonna go back to that second address. That deals with the same thing. Acts 22:6. It says, "And it came to pass that as I made my journey, and I was come nigh unto Damascus about noon." How do you comprehend that, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you how can you say there is no God, man? You gotta melt, man. You gotta melt. It says, "And went to Damascus to bring them which were there bound unto Jerusalem." Oh, Slakia, I messed up. Acts 22:6. "And it came to pass, as I made my journey and was come nigh to Damascus about noon, suddenly there shone from heaven a great light round about me. And I fell unto the ground, and I heard a voice saying unto me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me?" That voice is coming from the Lord Yahweh Shai. Okay. It says, "And I answered, Who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am Yahweh Shai of Nazareth, whom thou persecutest. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake to me." And that's perfect because it lines up with the precept that I'm going to read after this. Because what did the Lord Yahweh Shai say? He said, when they said, "Lord, show us the Father," he said, if thou hast seen the Father, thou hast seen me. Okay? So when the Father and when the Son speaks from heaven, you don't hear their voices unless the Lord wants you to hear his voice. The Lord wanted Moses to hear his voice. Moses didn't hear thunder. The Lord say he spoke to Moses face to face. The Lord wanted, Yahushua wanted Paul to hear his voice. The others were not able to hear it. It says, "And they indeed saw the light and were afraid, but they heard not the voice of him that spake to me." And there's a precept to that. Okay, never mind. Let's go back to that second Ezra 13, because that's second Ezra 13 is dealing with Yahweh Shai once again speaking. So let's hear how Yahweh Shai speaks, which he speaks just like his heavenly Father. Shalom, y'all, but shall right there. 213 and 6, it says, and I beheld, it says, but I beheld, and lo, he graved himself. And then let's go back to 5. After this I beheld, and lo, there were gathered together a multitude of men, that's those armies, all right, waging war against each other, but then they're gonna leave the battle that they have against each other to wage the battle against Yahweh Shai, pursuant to Revelation, the 19th chapter. Says when Yahweh Shai comes back, he's gonna wage war in righteousness. And in righteousness, he does wage war. Okay. As a matter of fact, if we jump down in the chapter, the same chapter, 2nd Esdras 13 and verse 33, it says, and when all the people hear his voice, right, his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together as thou sawest them willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. So as crazy as it may sound, they're going to actually try to fight the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, man, the one who conquered death. Why would you try to fight somebody who cannot die? That don't even make sense. But this is the pride of this devil and these heathen that imagine a vain thing, like it says in Psalms the 2nd chapter. 2nd Esdras 13 now and 6, it says that, but I beheld, and lo, he had graven himself a great mountain and flew upon it. That's that fathership, that humongous chariot that's so big you can't tell where it begins or it ends. It says, but I have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven. I could not, because you can't tell where it begins or ends. That's what he means in verse 7. Verse 8, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. All right, that's that great storm that's going to come out of the chariot, man, which is laser beams, all right, concentrated heat, fire. And that's how the Lord speaks. He said it's coming out of his mouth. It says, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest. A tempest is a storm, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. So if you go to the book of 2nd Esdras 15, is it 15? 2nd Esdras 15:7. Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. So the Lord no longer going to hold his tongue, but the Lord's going to speak, man. And that was a lightning bolt right there. Call on Yahweh Shemel Shah. So hey, I just wanted to say that, because let me get one more. You gotta have the fear of the Lord, man. The Lord gives all these great examples, not so that you could get a credit to science, not so that you could say Mother Nature is awesome, but so that you could fear him. The Lord thunders and strikes lightning, and drops down hail from heaven, and 7 inches of rain in 3 hours, so that you can fear him. This is 1 Chronicles 16:25. For great is Yahweh Shemel Shai, and greatly to be praised. He also is to be feared above all gods, because there is no other God. Okay, he kills, he makes alive, he wounds, he heals. Psalm 76:7. Thou, even thou, art greatly to be feared, and who may stand in thy sight once thou art angry? Psalms 89:7. It says, Elohim is greatly to be feared in the assembly of the saints. We are the saints. All right, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Seminole, Native American Indians, you're the saints of the Most High because you are the Israelites. Now, these times only the elect is going to return unto Him and proclaim and take on that title of saints. All right, but the Most High is greatly feared amongst us, brothers and sisters that's in this thing. It says, Psalms 89:7, the Heavenly Father, or it says God, which in Hebrew comes from the word Allah. It says, it's greatly to be feared in the assembly of the saints, and to be had in reverence of all them that are about Him. So we supposed to have the Most High in reverence, man. Respect Him, you know. So like the apostle said, because at the same time I'm hearing thunder, I'm hearing gunshots. You know what I'm saying? So you supposed to fear the Most High. Just to fear the Most High, man. Because like the apostle said, when he was growing up in the islands, they used to say when there was thunder and it was raining to turn off the TV, turn off the thunder, because the Lord is speaking. Listen to Him. You know, just admire His work, man. Because hey, if we be an elect, one day we're gonna have control over these works, man. If we be an elect, then we help create these works, these great works, man. You know. So pretty much that's it, man. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Chacharash, double honors. The apostles and elders, great millstone, still rule and teach well. Peace, blessings, and safety to the Lord's elect scattered throughout the four corners of the planet Earth. Preaching His word in humility and sincerity. All right, Kwame Yasharala, Shalom, Abba, Abba.